Hello and welcome, this is Marcus. In today's video, I want to talk more about Eldiron, my classical RPG creator. If you are interested in creating games like the old Ultimas or Dungeon Master, this kind of stuff, then you are at the right place. In this video, I go a bit more about the core mechanics of Eldiron, which changed in the latest version. 2 videos ago, I talked about the bumping into entities and items. And this example here, the hideout example, was the gameplay was completely based on that. So now in this version, I changed things a bit and I made a bit more complex interactions using the new intent system. So I want to go over the intent system in this video and show it to you. So first of all, a quick reminder, this is a basic screen here of Eldiron. You can change the datetime here. On the left, you have the tools, and on the right, you have the different context sections like characters, items, and so on. Here this is a game tool. When you press play, you have the game as the user would see it. And here down here, you have the new intent system where you can give action or intent strings to the server to tell your intent on mouse clicks and on directional actions. If there is no intent, the intent string is empty. It's just a walk as before. So you can walk around. And here you have the attack and the use and take intents. If we go to the screen, let's go here to the screen section. And we take a look at the data here. Now, have a look at the data. You see that the role here is just a button for this widget, and the intent is empty, which means walk. And here we just set in this, for these buttons, we just set the intent to attack, use, and take. And these intents, they are sent as events to the characters and items. So let's see that in action. When we go here to the first item, which is the sign. In the past, when we bumped into it, you would have gotten a message. This is the home of Moody. But now we try to use it. And so we click on it. The sign says home of Moody. So the intent event gets sent to both the entity causing it and to the item. And it happens on 2 ways. Either you select the intent, use, and the directional action, or you click on it and you click on the destination item or entity. So this has the advantage that you can your gameplay can be keyboard controlled, like you have the use shortcut for use and you have the directional, or you can have it like on a tablet or something. You click on use and you click on the destination. So now let's have a look at the item. Here, this is a sign which we drag and drop onto the canvas here. And so we go to the code. And here you see in the past, we use this event bumped by entity. And if yes, message home of Moody, send a message to that entity. We can still do that, but for this video, we just leave it out and we just use the new intent system. If event is an intent event, then we look into the dictionary of the event and the value. And if the intent is use, we first check the distance. If it's smaller than 2 tiles, we send him a message to the entity which clicked on us. The sign says home of Moody. So with the checking the distance is important, because if you go to the game and you use that sign from from far away, it wouldn't make sense to be able to get a response. For the move-based action, actually, if you only want to use these without clicking, you wouldn't need to check it, because on use it would always be close enough, because it only checks items and tiles in the neighborhood, in the direct neighborhood. Let's go to the next item, which is the torch. When we use that, it disables itself, and you also see the icon has changed to off. We use it again, then it's back on. So this is also, of course, done with the intent system. We go back to the select the torch, the code. Okay, so now for items, we have a new active system. Whenever the active change of an item changes, we send an active event. And here we just set emit light. We tell the system that this item emits light. And if a value is true, when it's active, then we also set the proper icons on and off. And then here also we check on intent and use, and if it's too far, we send the warning again, too far away. And then otherwise we toggle the attribute active and block events for intent for 1 in-game minute. So this is the block event is for not being able to use that item like 10 times. So, I mean, the tick is 250 milliseconds, so 4 times a second, but you don't want to be able the user to like take it on off like crazy. That's why you block it for 1 minute, which is 1 real-time second is 1 in-game minute in the default settings. And you also see that when we change the active attribute, then the active event is sent. So that's, you don't need to do that here. Whenever somebody changes the active attribute, then we get an event. And okay, that's the last thing we can do is actually take that torch. So we take it, you see we run around with the torch now. And this is actually done by the entity. That's why the intent is always sent to both the item or the destination entity or the source entity, because the take is handled by the entity. When we go to the player character and to the code tool again, then we see intent. Okay, if the intent is take, then we take that item, if we can take it. If you cannot take it, then the system sends a message by itself. Like you cannot take a campfire or the sign here, for example, because they are marked static. Also, maybe one thing I should say about the torch. In the torch, we defined the attributes in the data tool. Here we see the attributes of the torch. And then we defined the light emission attributes for it here. So you could also change the color, the strength, the range, and the flicker period of the torch. When we look back at the door, this interaction is still done via bump, because it's a little bit cumbersome to use that, like for every door, click on an icon. But you can, of course, use it for your game like whatever you want. If you can use it for use or open it. I use a bump event, and I explained how that worked in the last video about the hideout. Okay, let's go the new attack system. That's a bit more complex. It's not really complex, but it's flexible, so it's a bit more, something more to say about it. So if you go here, the orc will follow us because we are in its range, and then it starts to attack us. And we see that our HP goes down. And once our HP is smaller or equal to 0, we resurrect on the starting point, we get a message, you died, try again, and he goes back via pathfinding into the garden. So that's a bit more complex because we have to go through a chain of events which happens for the org. The org is actually checking the proximity of it, and if some entity gets closer to it, then it closes in and attacks that entity. So let's have a look at the org source code. We go to the character here, to the org. And when we start up, on startup, we always get this nice message, startup. We say we random walk in the current sector, which is a garden. We set proximity tracking to true within 4 tiles. And we take the golden key, or we add the golden key item to the org, which we need to go into the cellar here. So we set the, and yeah, okay, the target attribute, we set it to empty. This is just a helper for us to later check if we have a target or not. So the first thing which happens when the character goes into the proximity of the org, we get a proximity warning. And we can choose whatever we want to do at the moment. We could check, for example, if it's a friend or a foe, depending on its attributes, like a line. For example, you could create a line attribute and set it to negative or positive, and he could choose, do I want to attack that or not? Or a healer could check, should I heal him because he's low on hit points and so on. Here we just choose to walk in, to get into weapon range. And so now he actually attacks the vendor right now, so let's stop the game for a second. Okay, proximity warning, he closes in to the first list of the array, the first entry of the array. So you can have more than a few people in the proximity. That's why you get an array here. And with normal speed 1.0, you could make that faster or slower. And he closes in on 1.5 tiles. And then the next step is you get a closed-in event if he's closed into the target. And if yes, he checks, do I have a target already? If not, no. He does a new deal damage event. And he sends it to the value, which is the destination character. And he fills in a dictionary from is himself. So he does his own ID in here. And then for the amount, he makes a random value of 1 to 3. This actually does not cause damage by itself. It actually sends a took damage event or take damage event on the other entity. So I come there to the player side in a moment. And then he sets the target, the target character as a target, and he waits for 4 minutes until he can attack again. No, actually, he notifies himself in 4 game minutes if he wants to attack again. So when you attack, notify in 4 in-game minutes to attack, and you see the event is like attack, and then he attacks again. And then, I mean, he takes and gets damage. When he kills something, he gets a kill event, and he says, okay, proximity tracking, turn it off. First we go to the garden and we set a target to 0. This is like your pathfinding. This is a garden. You see here, this is the garden sector. And this is where he goes back to if he's outside. This happens when he kills somebody. But when he gets killed, he gets the death event. And in the death event, he drops all items and we set this attribute to visible, to false. Yeah, okay, there's something more about it. I will explain that when we talk about the player. Now, on the other side, we have the player. And the player, I told you that when he calls deal damage to that entity, he gets a take damage event. This is the player now. And we can then decide from the victim side how much of that damage do we actually take. I mean, we can check our gear, we can check, you know, we roll a dice, how much damage we take. Here we just take the full damage. We take the amount from the amount dictionary we created from on the org side, and then we tell the system, take this damage from this entity and take it. And the system will reduce the damage from our HP and send, if we got killed, send the kill and the death events to the player and to the org. And we also then send a message, the org hits you for damage in a warning context. So this is all a bit, it sounds complex, but it's actually very simple. You know, the org sends the deal damage, we take a take damage, and then we calculate the damage, and then we tell the system this took damage, how much damage we actually took, and the system will do the rest, sends the events. And of course, we also handle here, when we kill the org, we say the message to kill the org. We get the name of the entity we killed, and we send the message. And when we are dead, we get the death message, and we drop all item, and we teleport to the start sector, which is this, and we set the attributes HP to 8, and we set the mode to active again. When we get killed, the system sets the mode to dead. So that's how the system knows that entity is dead, and we don't get any events anymore in the world. So that we actually set ourselves to be healthy and alive again by setting mode to active. All right, I think that's it. So let's test it all out. We go to the game tool and we go up here. And now we go into full attack mode and start to attack the. So now we killed the orc. We have 4 hit points left. And now the key, it doesn't take itself anymore with a bump event, but we have to take it by ourselves. So now we can, again, we can go like in the past, we can go into the cellar and take the items if you want. One other feature which is new is a new teleport. When we enter a sector, we get a sent an event, and we can have a look, player, when we enter the dungeon entrance, we teleport into that start sector in the dungeon region. So that's a new feature that we can teleport over different regions. And if we have a dungeon exit again, we teleport back into the world. So we can try this out. We go here, we enter that region, which is a dungeon entrance, and we teleport into this empty, I did not do that yet, into that empty region here. Yeah, these are most of the new features in this release. There are some other convenience features. For example, when you are over a tile, the preview is now here in the minimap, or in the tile tool where you take the tiles from tile maps into your game. The selected tiles also show here in the minimap, so they have a nice little preview. And so this is, let's say, I'm nearly there to have all the core gaming feature and event system set up. I need a few more things. For example, the vendor system I have to do for the next release. But after that, I'm mostly done with core gameplay mechanics. Of course, there's always something which you will add and do, but the core is done. And after that, I will start with the node system. I know that lots of people, lots of you of the users, they don't want to use Python to program all of this. But Python is just important to have a basis which is very flexible. You can do everything. So now with the new node system, we will be able to call from the nodes, they will call the Python system. This has the advantage that the whole thing will be fully programmable. There will be many default nodes in there that you can do whatever you want. But for complex mechanics, you can also write your own nodes. Or we have a database where people can write nodes and share them with other people. So this way, it will be a fully programmable Node and Python system, which will be very powerful for creating all kind of online RPGs. So this is a 2D example. The 3D thing is not worked out, so I did not really set it up correctly. You see that in the 3D side. I have to maybe make this also 3D, it's not a big problem. But when this is done, the Hideout example is done, I have the missing game core mechanics, and I did the node system. Then I will work on a Dungeon Master kind of 3D example, like Ultima Underworld example. It's all prepared already. And when that's done, then we are very close to version 1. So if you want to support me, please subscribe, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and maybe also consider joining my Patreon. I'm nearly working on this full time. So yeah, it would help a lot. Okay, guys, see you in the next video.